Hello and welcome back to the Talk Healing to Me podcast. I want to take a few minutes today to reflect on my recent conversation with Dr. Sherry Walling, a clinical psychologist, grief expert, aerialist, author, and just an incredibly insightful human being. There were so many moments in that conversation where I just thought, yes, like somebody finally naming what so many of us feel but rarely have the space to say out loud. So today's solo episode is all about highlighting the biggest takeaways from our conversation, the wisdom, the reminders, and the truth bombs, and offering you some space to breathe, feel, and maybe even see healing in a new light. So let's dive into the top 10 takeaways with my chat from the brilliant Dr. Sherry Walling. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your doctor. Views shared are personal and not a substitute for professional guidance. So the first one was grief, and it isn't just about death. It's about lost futures too. I suppose we often associate grief with losing someone, but Sherry reminded us that grief also comes from losing the life you thought you were going to have. So like when you get a diagnosis, whether it's MS or anything life-altering, like it might be diabetes, it could be anything. It could even be a breakup. There's a version, and I'm going to say it could be a friendship that's broken down. It could be anything, right? But there's a version of your future that suddenly disappears. And no one really talks about how painful that is. And grief isn't always loud. Sometimes it shows up as numbness or burnout or disorientation. And recognizing it as grief is a huge first step towards healing. I thought that one was really, really great. The second one is you don't need permission to grieve, but naming it helps. So one of the most powerful things that Sherry shared was how we ritualize death with funerals and eulogies and memorials. And it's when everyone, comes together and it's automatic that you rally around someone that has lost someone. But we rarely do that for other kinds of loss. And so she suggested, what if you created a little ritual to honor your diagnosis, as an example, to mark the shift, so that it could be journaling or writing a letter to your past self, burning a list of what won't be, or maybe writing a new one, whatever brings closure and clarity. And it's interesting to say that what won't be. It's funny, I get a little bit triggered by that one, because a lot of the time my clients are told after diagnosis, oh, well, you won't be able to do this. And actually, we prove that wrong all the time. And actually, there's something incredible that I want to share at the end of this podcast. So make sure you listen to the very end. I want to share something pretty incredible. And maybe there is something that won't happen, and it is okay to bring closure to that. I don't think it's giving up on that though. But we have a ritual at the beginning of our programs, and it's like a freeing your mind exercise, I suppose, not a physical exercise, but a written one, where we get everyone to write down a particular set of answers to questions to really bring clarity of mind to exactly where you're at, where you'd like to get to, and all of those thoughts that are maybe floating around in your lovely brains, because that can take up a lot of space. That can take up a lot of space for healing, particularly when you might not recognize what those thoughts are. There can be those sneaky little thoughts or beliefs that you don't realize might be holding up your positive progress. But going back to the loss and naming it, like I was saying, doesn't mean you're giving up. It means that you're acknowledging that it matters and you matters, and actually giving yourself the space to do that. Because I think a lot of times those big feelings can come up. And I think in a society now where it is so fast and everything is, you do it, you process it, you get over it, taking the time out to actually stop and acknowledge it is a big power play. Third one that I made a note of was grief and strength are not opposites. So we often think that you have to stay strong and that showing sadness or grief is weakness. But Sherry said something really beautiful. You can be strong, resilient, and powerful and still be grieving something that you never asked for. Both can be true. You don't have to pick one. I thought that was really lovely. The fourth one was unspoken grief can erode the body. Here's the thing, your body feels what your heart refuses to speak. This is a little bit woo-woo, okay? But I've seen it in quantum physics. I've seen it in clients, that when there might be something, as an example, that you want to say and you're holding back and saying it, I have seen that people get sore throats or they get a neck pain, or particularly the sore throat and around that area. And then when they actually say it, it goes. Now, I acknowledge that's a little bit woo-woo, but I love all that stuff. Everything we do is based on science, right? But I like to have those thoughts of, okay, if that is something that is showing up in your body, what is your body trying to tell you? And I suppose when we push grief down and suppress it and power through, the body doesn't just forget it, it stores it. And Sherry explained how unresolved emotional pain can lead to chronic stress, immune dysfunction, and a breakdown in physical resilience. So your feelings don't disappear, they just find other ways to be felt. So part of your healing might not be a supplement or a protocol. It might be giving yourself permission to feel as well as heal. This episode of Talk Healing to Me is sponsored by Clean Boss, created by Joy Mangano, the legendary inventor behind the Miracle Mop and a pioneer in clean innovation. Clean Boss is a botanical disinfectant that kills 99.9% of viruses, germs, and bacteria. It's safe for food surfaces, soft surfaces, and baby high chairs with no toxic ingredients and no rinse required. It's also a degreaser, odor eliminator, and all-purpose cleaner that works as hard as the chemical-heavy stuff without the health risks. Check it out at getcleanboss.com/Karen for a clean, better, and living safer life. So the fifth one, language matters, especially with kids. So Sherry spoke about growing up with a mum who has MS and how much she wished adults had explained things a little more clearly. One thing that she said that really stayed with me, and actually when I listened back to the interview, I found that I didn't maybe go as deep as I would have liked to around this, because I think there was a part of me that didn't want to hear it, if I'm being really honest. Because obviously then I'm thinking about my kids and their experience of when I was ill. And it was like, oh, I don't know that I want to hear it. And I definitely probably could have asked a few more questions, and maybe we'll invite her back on to ask a few more. And in a few episodes from now, we have somebody else's parent with a chronic illness. And we do deep dive into that a little bit more. It was an interview I did in LA. So do stay tuned for that. But when Sherry mentioned that we underestimate what kids observe and overestimate what they understand, that really hit home, because I think, and we all see this, like kids really, they take in everything. They're like sponges, you know? So I suppose if you are parenting and you have MS or another chronic illness, don't be afraid to talk to your kids. I don't quite remember, if I'm really honest, what I said or what I didn't say, because it was such a long time ago now to my kids, and I'm sure they remember. But what she said was it was important to give them words and give them context and let them in on your story. It's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one, because I know certainly there was a lot of things and in a different arena kept for me when I was a child. And I had a lot of resentment that I wasn't told the truth, or nobody was honest with me. And there was a lot of people that knew things that I should have known, or at least I feel that I should have known. And I definitely harbored a bit of resentment of people just not being straight with me. And then kind of questioning them when I'm older, are they telling the truth? Are they hiding something? Kind of always having that in the back of your mind. I suppose almost like a bit of a trust thing. So I think, being eloquent and being honest and being real, and also protecting their little hearts and heads. But, if it helps them feel safe, even if the news isn't perfect, Dr. Sherry Walling, and with her qualifications as well, has suggested that you do have a conversation and be real. So I had a lot of learning in that, and I had to go deep on my own thoughts and feelings around that, and really take a look or try and remember how I dealt with it. So a very, very interesting part indeed. The sixth part was your nervous system needs joy too. So we often think healing means doing hard things. But Sherry reminded us that sometimes healing looks like finding joy again. And she shared how aerial movement, think Cirque du Soleil, became a massive part of her grief recovery. And one of the things that we do, so every week we have live calls across the week with our clients, and on a Friday, we brainstorm ideas around mindset, movement, nutrition, self-care, sleep, and rest. But the last one is always fun, and what one thing are you going to do for fun the following week? And we always have, a bit of a laugh talking about it, because everyone's idea of fun can be completely different. I think last week somebody was talking about doing a puzzle. Another client was talking about going to see her brand new grandchild. Somebody else was talking about going into central London. And somebody else was like, I'm going to chill and watch some TV. But your version of fun and joy is as important as anybody else's. But I think Sherry hit the nail on the head, because we do sometimes think that it has to be hard, or it must be difficult to do in order to feel. Maybe this is a Catholic thing, but it must be difficult, or it must be hardship in order for us to get results. And it's really not that, it's the slowing down in order to speed up is as important as finding the joy and the fun. And even if that is scheduling fun, sometimes I know that all of our schedules are busy, but it's easy to forget to schedule those things in. So yeah, the lesson that she said, movement isn't just about exercise, it's about moving emotion through the body. And it can be as simple as walking or swimming or dancing in your kitchen. That was probably my favorite one. But your nervous system needs play, not just plans. The 7th one was creativity is a healing tool, not a hobby. And so many of us say, I'm not creative. I absolutely say that, or I don't have time for that stuff. But creativity, like writing or crafting or movement or even music, gives emotion to a channel. Again, stay tuned for another episode with one of our doctors of music therapy, and he has some amazing things to say. You'll see that episode a little bit further down. But Sherry was talking about bypassing the overthinking that goes straight into the heart of what needs to come out, even if it is messy, especially if it's messy. Number 8 was you don't have to heal alone. So grief can isolate you, and so can illness. I mean, a lot of the times we have people when they come to our call and they chat about how their life has gotten smaller, and they might have a partner or a family member or friends that ask them to go out, and because they might be dealing with something, they'll say, oh no, oh, it might not suit them right then, but internally what they're saying to themselves, and this is their words, not mine, and actually I did have this way back when, I don't want to burden anyone, I might be too tired and I might not keep up. And then some of the things I've heard is I need to make sure that there's a bathroom nearby, and I don't want to hassle anyone by asking where it is or where the parking is so that I can get close to it. Or what if then they go out somewhere and I'm not able? And all of a sudden, that one invitation you say no to, because it's like, oh, just this time. But then that becomes a habitual thing of saying no. And then it's like, oh, maybe then the invites don't come as often. And then all of a sudden the world gets a lot smaller. And so people then are dealing with this isolation by themselves, and all of a sudden that is life, because the weeks become months and months become years, and then all of a sudden it's like, I feel quite lonely. And then it's hard to verbalize what happened or what the needs are or what it is that you want, because sometimes it can feel a little bit silly. And I'm going to share something at the end of this call with a massive breakthrough that one of our clients has had over the last number of weeks, which is huge. And I'm going to let you into a little tool on how you can do that for yourself as well. Sherry talked about the importance of co-journeyers. It's the first time I heard that phrase. So people who will walk with you. So some will be people who share your experience, like other people with MS or chronic illness or similar. And some will be those who knew you before a diagnosis or knew before a loss, and want to love you through it and really let them in. Do your best to explain what you need, or even saying, I'm not quite sure to say what it is that I need, but it would just be nice to not be alone right now. So they might not get it at the time, but some of them will try. And look, the caveat is some of them won't, and that's okay. But if you don't ask, well, then you don't know. So that's my invitation to you. Ready to turn inspiration into transformation? Join the Inner Circle Book Club, where we explore life-changing books that spark energy, confidence, and joy. Each month we read, reflect, and challenge ourselves with exclusive coaching, powerful insights, and engaging discussions. It's more than just reading, it's about real change. Join us with the link in the show notes and get ready to start your next chapter today. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Let's grow together. The 9th one, the second last one, is your body processes emotion better than your brain does. This blew my mind. You can't think your way out of overwhelm, but you can breathe your way out. You can move your way out. You can even float or hug or rock or be held. So touch and movement and rest can regulate your nervous system faster than positive affirmations ever will. So the next time you're having a spiral, try the bath before the book, or the hug before the homework, and maybe even the breath before the fix. I really, really liked that. I think sometimes we can say negative things about our body, or, and going back to what Sherry said earlier, language matters. Talking to yourself is really, really great, but actually getting connected to your body and letting it move, whether that's even massaging your legs or giving yourself a hug, or, rubbing your shoulders, or even using a dry brush to move those cells in your body is really, really helpful indeed. And the last one, I think it's my favorite one, is rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. I love that. So many women I work with, especially at the beginning, are exhausted, and not just from their diagnosis, but from trying to keep everyone else okay. You are allowed to rest, not because you've earned it or crossed everything off your list, but because you're human. Your body can't heal in a fight or flight state. It needs stillness. It needs safety and peace. And even just 5 minutes a day where you say, nothing is required of me right now, that permission to pause is so important. That is healing too. So they're my top 10 takeaways from my conversation with Dr. Sherry Walling. And if any of those stood out for you, write it down, put it on a post-it note, stick it somewhere that you can see it, and come back to it. Let it be your little mantra for today. And if you haven't listened to the full episode yet, go do that. It's tender and it's powerful and it's packed with so much wisdom. And as always, if this resonated with you, please share it. You never know who's out there silently grieving, silently surviving, and needs to hear this. And if you're looking for personalized support, come join our free masterclass at mstosuccess.com, at mstosuccess.com. We're here for the whole of you. And speaking of that, some shout outs for my brilliant clients that I want to give. So every week we share our wins, our fails, and everything in between. But these, and I am going to keep continuing to do this. And if you have a shout out, please do send them in to podcast@talkhealingtome.com, whether it's your win that you want to celebrate or you want to celebrate someone else who you've been inspired by. Please, please, please send them in to us, and let's spread that celebration of those people that are important to you. And especially if it's you, please send it in and let's acknowledge you. I want to say a shout out to my client Stephanie, who last week she got a bug. And not only did she bounce back from that, she did 30 minutes of her movement plan, but she also did 30 minutes of traditional exercise, and she still had energy straight after bouncing back, which is absolutely huge. Another huge win for my client Astra, who is climbing the stairs better and faster and getting up and getting out of bed more easily. We celebrate you. Kudos to Jane Marie, who only joined the program, I think about 48 hours ago, and she was able to have success with her sleep in the 24 hours that she joined back, and got herself back to sleep 5 times. This is somebody who deals with insomnia and usually doesn't sleep through the night, and she got herself back to sleep 5 times, which is a massive, massive win. 24 hours in the program, like, come on, amazing. Well done for Helen. This is one that I really wanted to have a special mention. I pointed it out earlier on the call. This is a client who's been with me for over a year. She's in our phase 2 program, and she is doing fabulous. And in her own words, it took her a little while to get started. And one of the things she said was she never stuck to anything before, which is okay. So many people do. And when we try things that aren't personalized or meant for you, it's very hard to stick to something that's cookie cutter for someone else. Or it might be like a men's exercise program that's built for men's bodies and hormones and things like that. But this each plan is built for each person individually. Helen's been able to stick to this. Not only has she started her 12-night in a row participation in a theatre production, she's back out dating. She has got her energy back. She has moved house recently. And I am thoroughly inspired by this human being. She is in the midst of all of this. She's doing her wellness routine daily and keeping up with everything and showing up to her live calls as well. I'm so happy for her. I'm so, so happy for her. Just huge, huge shout out. Shout out to Erin as well, who is keeping up with her movement plan and having 2 nights of uninterrupted sleep, which is absolutely fabulous. I want to take a moment to shout out 2 other clients as well. Anetta and Claudine both met up with each other in London. I was a little bit jealous, I have to say, because I wanted to be there having a really fancy afternoon tea. And both these people traveling solo into London, walking independently, and bonus points to my client Claudine, who just became a grandmother. Just fabulous, fabulous news, having that new bundle of joy in your life. So congratulations to all of my clients. Congratulations to all of you, because just by reference of listening to a podcast called Talk Healing to Me, it means you have an interest in your health. That means you want to live a great life, and maybe there might be some healing for you to do. So continue to talk healing to yourself. Thank you for listening. If you feel like giving us a review, if you feel like sharing it or subscribing, please do that. I'd especially love to hear your wins. podcast@talkhealingtome.com. Like Sherry Walling says, grief is not the end of your story. It's a sacred part of your healing. Talk healing to yourself. I will chat to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you to our sponsors of this episode. You can visit getcleanboss.com/Karen. And also a thank you to our video and podcast producer and editor, Aoife McNamara at Imagine Media. Thank you.